G'day mates, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm sharing with you the most absolutely broken strategy to ever be in Fortnite. I'm not kidding, this is more broken than mechs, this is more broken than ballers, this is more broken than abusing planes. If you watch today's video and you use this strategy, I guarantee you'll be getting so many more wins, so many more arena points, and this works all the way up until Champions Division and beyond. It doesn't just work on bad players. Not only that, I have 3 different drop spots and routes that all utilize this strategy. So those of you who always say, oh man, this video was so great, but now everyone's doing it. Well, now they're not, because you got 3 different drop spots. Don't worry, I got you covered. So if you like today's video, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comment section down below how many points you gained from this. Does it get you your first win of the season? That would be awesome for me. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and I hope you enjoy this video. All right, I won't drag it out any longer. I know you want to know it. I'm not going to make this clickbaity. It's fishing. Now, don't leave the video, please. I know that makes it sound like it's clickbait, but hear me out. It's being able to blow up fishing holes with a boat and how much fish it gives you. And there's 3 different areas on the map that have such a high density of fish that you will then walk away every single game stacked. You're uncontested and you have absolute god loot going into endgame. And it doesn't matter how good your mechanics are. I filmed this video today in 3 different takes. That's it. Every game was my first game. It's not like 50 people are doing this. It is so free and people kind of know about it, but people aren't developing proper strategies to use it. And not to mention, now with 100% chest spawn gone down the drain, this doesn't matter. The fish are always there and you always get ridiculous loot. Not to mention, currently fishing holes have one of the highest chances of getting a legendary or epic AR or shotgun. So sometimes you could literally land on a boat, just blow up fishing holes, and I guarantee you'd still end up with a stacked loadout. It's ridiculous. You now have spicy fish for mobility, you have pop fish for mobility, you literally gain everything from fishing. So I'm going to show you 3 drop spots that abuse that, and I'm going to start from what is the least contested to the most contested. The last drop spot of today is a little bit more normal. You don't have to play it purely for fishing, but you can if you want to. It gives you those options, but the other 2 are just straight up broken. So let's jump straight into it. All right, let's start out with what is the most broken drop on the map for this strategy and arguably one of the most broken drops in general. So it is the little island to the northwest of Craggy, and it doesn't look like much, and that's the point. That's why no one's going there. You've got 2 houses where you have about 4 chest spawns between them and 1 in the middle. You don't have a lot of loot here, so it's not a drop that gets contested a lot, but what you do have is over 20 different fishing holes in the little area around it. Just look at the loot that I walk away with at the end of this, and I promise you, this wasn't lucky. The only thing I got out of this loadout that wasn't from the fishing holes was the purple pump, but I found a blue charge out of a fishing hole anyway. I literally could have landed, not looted, blown up all these fishing holes, and this is what I would have walked away with. So it's pretty simple. Land at either one of the houses, whichever one you see have a bit better loot. If you're getting contested, which is not going to happen often, the house with the triple chest spawn to the more western edge is going to be your better option. Get whatever loot's there, grab the boat, start blowing up a bunch of fishing holes. It's literally that simple. 2 main things to count for though: get all your wood and brick on the island before you start getting your fish, and if you need metal, you have a big store of cars just to the southwest of the drop spot right there as well. So that's a good spot if you need some metal. But honestly, if you're implementing this strategy, you're going to be rotating late through storm, and again, you need to get comfortable with that. You have so many fish, you have so much loot, you can sit out here for so long, and that's why it's so broken. You can tank storm, get free placement points, show up late when there's only sometimes 10 players alive and you've still been in storm, and you're still rocking in with 8 to 10 fish anyway. It's so ridiculous. And from that, there's one thing I want you to avoid though, and it's the one thing that most players who are doing this strategy already are doing wrong, is they're going straight down the river south to get in. That is where you're going to run into so many opponents. You've got Pleasant coming out, you've got Craggy, you're going to run into Authority, Salty. It's just not worth it. If you have to go south, if the zone pulls south, make sure you're rotating either around the eastern edge or the western edge. As you see in this video, I'm rotating in behind Pleasant Park, or Doom's Domain now, because it's nice and safe around that area. You can cut all the way around the water if you want. I just find cutting across this a lot easier, but again, you'll learn how to hit the rotations. But the joy of this and what's so good about it is you don't need to be good at rotating, because you can sit in storm for so long. You could literally sit out here, eat 4 stacks of floppers, and then go in late straight down the river and no one will be there. It is one of the most broken strategies. So that's the first drop spot. Let's talk about another drop spot that's also ridiculously good for this as well. The second drop spot that abuses this is on the southeastern section of the map. It's around Weather Station, and you have two ways of dropping this. You can either drop straight onto the house here if you really want to get down and start fishing quicker. If you see a lot of people at Camp Cod, which is the island on the south, this is usually a smart idea because if there's a lot of people there, some of them are going to leave quickly and they're going to start picking up your fish before you can. So you can either land straight on this house, or if you want a little bit more loot, you want a bit more weapons to feel a bit more comfortable, you can land up here at the top where the like kind of little van is, and there's a bunch of loot and tents here, and then push your way down. It only adds a couple minutes, but when it comes to this fishing strategy, if someone else is doing it out of Camp Cod, you might want to start getting going a little bit quicker. Now, the main things to note here is don't worry about getting too much material up at the top of the houses. Once you get down to where all the boats are, farm all the boats for max wood, farm all the brick for max brick, and then farm both these little buoys for the metal because you want to get as much of that as you can. And then, you guessed it, same strategy. Get in your boat, start blowing up a whole bunch of fishing holes. Now, I normally go towards the southern side a little bit more first towards Camp Cod to get those fish and then come back if I have to go more north. 9 times out of 10, you're going to rotate up this eastern edge. So even if you get a far northwest zone, say it pulls up near Coral Castle, I would still rotate up through the east, go as far north as you can, past where Old Grotto was, around Dirty Docks, a little bit north of that, and then cut in. This is just such a safe rotate because there's going to be way less people up here. If you get zoned, happy days, you're here for ages. But I would recommend anytime you go further north, try to get to this massive pile of metal cars, which is just around Dirty Docks, because it is such a massive refresh of metal for free. Now, again, same as before, just get whatever fish you need. I didn't talk too much in the last drop spot about priorities of what fish you should be running. Honestly, it's up to you. You can run the spice fish and maybe floppers and slurp fish if you want to have a bit of mobility. You can carry triple meds. Just know that if you carry triple meds and you're not the best player, if someone aggressively pushes you and you can't beat them, you've got no way to get away. So at a certain point, carrying more meds isn't really going to help you. But if you're going to tank Storm for ages and you're going to get in late, then run 2 stacks of floppers and slurp fish. It's pretty simple. The pop fish as well, though, don't count them out. They're really, really good, especially if you can combine them with something like shockwaves or a bounce pad or a crash pad, because that lower gravity they give you is actually ridiculous for a whole bunch of rotations. Again, if you haven't seen my tips and tricks guide, go check that out. It's got a whole bunch of advanced maneuvers you can use to rotate with, and instead of using bounce pads, you can just use these pop fish as well, so that's up to you. But let's talk about the last drop spot now, and this one isn't just purely fishing. It's a lot more based around looting and having a normal route, and if you have good loot, you don't have to go for this fishing strat if you don't want, but the reason that it's so insanely strong is because you have that choice. Last but not least is Fortilla. So this is old Fortilla now. It's a bit busted down, and that's why next to no one's dropping here, but it still has so much loot. You have a whole bunch of chests, you have a whole bunch of floor spawns, you even have a few nom spawns in there as well. So like I said, there's enough loot here to play it normally. You can drop down, loot up, and just rotate north if you want to through Slurpee. But the reason why this drop is so good is if you're scuffed loot and you don't have what you really want and you're not walking away with the best loot, jump in a boat, start blowing up some fishing holes. You already know what to do. Now remember also with this drop spot as well, you want to prioritize dropping at the actual Fortilla house. The 2 other houses that used to be decent drop spots around this area, they're not as good now if you don't have 100% chest spawn, and also the henchman chest is now missing out of this house here, so I would kind of avoid those if possible. But again, like I said with the first drop spot, you blow up enough fishing holes, you can get an AR and shotgun out of them anyway, so it's up to you how you want to play it. But don't forget, if you're going to start rotating north through Slurpee, you can also blow up a whole bunch of fishing holes in here, and you also have shield mushrooms. So if you're trying to play this safe strategy of tanking in Storm, if you collect a whole bunch of these ghost mushrooms, which are everywhere, you can tank so much Storm with those and carry your floppers. So quite often, if I've got someone who's really struggling and wants to go hard for placement or just get that win, I'll tell them to fish up as much as they can, comfortably sit in Storm, don't use your fish, but as you rotate through Slurpee, start eating all the ghost mushrooms or carrying them as you go, and then throwing your floppers forward. You can then get into 2nd, 3rd zone even with max fish just by recycling your ghost mushrooms if you're good enough with it. It's really, really easy strategy. So again, you guys know the way with this one. If you're going to rotate around the water, try to go more along that western edge. If it's going north, try to avoid going far east. It's a ridiculous drop spot. All right, guys, that does it for another video. I know I just did a drop spot guide and I didn't really want to include this in the drop spot guide because it's more of its own strategy that is abusing a certain mechanic in the game that right now will get you so many placement points, so many wins, and will get literally a potato to Champions Division. It does not matter how good your mechanics are. If you abuse this strategy and you get smarter with your rotates and your rotate timing, you're going to kill it. So I really hope it works for you. Like I said, if it does, let me know in the comment section down below how many points it helps you gain. Do you get your first win of the season with it? If you got this far, please chuck a like on the video. You clearly enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.